I talk to a lot of women who they're mostly home with kids and they put the kids to bed and then they want to stay up. They don't want to go to bed. They want to stay up. So they're either going to do laundry or dishes or watch a movie and have some me time. The best thing they could do is go to bed. Just go to bed.
But when you're a young mom and you have 100 things on your list, sometimes that's hard to do.
Welcome back to Living on Purpose. I'm Dr. Allison Brumley, a naturopathic physician, and I'm here with Karen Cox, who's a board-certified health coach. And we are talking about hormonal health these first few episodes. And today we want to talk about a topic that is much too familiar for most of us, and it's really how stress affects us and affects our hormones. So as we dive into this, we're going to talk a little bit about the physiology and how to negate it.
Right, because it's one of the things that affects us all, right? No matter our demographic, stress is a big part of all of our lives. And so how we navigate it, I think, is what we want to really address in this episode.
You know, as I think about it, really the physiology of stress, and stress can be different things to different people. And certain amounts of stress can be good. You know, they propel you to do something if you feel stressed about it. That might be studying for a test or, you know, going out of your comfort zone to go see a neighbor or, you know, something like that.
And even exercise.
It's
stress on the body, but it's a good kind of stress.
Yeah, it's very, very important to think about that. So really the physiology of stress is that you've turned on your autonomic nervous system, and we don't think about it. We don't have to think about that autonomic nervous systems. That the whole point of it is that it's automatic. And the bulk of everyone lives in that fight or flight sympathetic nervous system that makes your heart rate go faster. You can have higher blood pressure. You can have a dry mouth. And then when you don't balance it with the parasympathetic, that system is your rest and digest. If you don't balance them, then you're left with digestive dysfunction, hormone dysfunction, and it really targets a few or specific organs. So, you know, the first one I think about is really the adrenal glands. We feel stress, our adrenal gland is going to release cortisol, potentially some adrenaline, and that's what propels you to do something. Some people can feel it as anxiety and not sleeping. You know, it can be that neuroexcitatory. Or you can gain weight. You know, if you are stressed, your cortisol levels go up. And they can only go up and maintain it for a certain amount of time till they burn out. And in alternative medicine, we call the burnout adrenal fatigue. It's not a diagnostic code. Endocrinologists don't like it, but I do think it is the absolute best description of that system when you have that adrenal fatigue. Cortisol's low, DHEA's low, that's another adrenal hormone, and you're tired, sometimes wired and tired, and it's not the kind of tired that you go take a nap and then you feel restored and you feel great.
It's like you can't turn off your brain.
Mm-hmm.
We are meant to be in fight and flight. Like you said, it's what propels us to do something. It's what helps us run away from the bear or the tiger, or things that we need to get away from. But we're not meant to be in fight or flight 24/7. And we often find that people are in fight and flight 24/7, that the vagal tone of the body is weakened. And so the body doesn't know how to turn into the parasympathetic nervous system. This is one of the things that I work with women a lot with childbirth. Mm-hmm. You know, women are in the most stressful situation of their life, giving birth, and we want to help keep them out of the fight and flight and into rest, because that's where you can be in more control of your birthing situation, or where you can be in more control of your life. So firefighters are trained to go into a burning building when everyone else's response, the fight and flight, is to get out of the building. But they have to go into the building with their wits about them. They have to be able to make good decisions in a stressful situation. And so they train for that. It doesn't happen automatic because their response is to leave. And so we've learned some of these skills can be used on us to get out of fight and flight, turn into more of a rest and digest, into the parasympathetic nervous system, just by learning some skills, a skill set. And that's what I have loved about teaching women about the birthing process, is giving them a skill set so they can do one of the hardest things they'll ever do with some tools in their back pocket to make it a doable experience.
Yeah, that sounds so amazing. So what are some of the tools that you give to them?
So one of the biggest tools to help us de-stress our life, believe it or not, is breath work, learning how to breathe correctly and notice in our bodies when we are in a constant state of fight and flight. And you mentioned one of them is anxiety. Anxiety can be a real telltale sign that you have been in fight and flight way too long and you need to get out of it. And the first way is to just do a big long breath in, hold it for a little bit, and then breathe out twice as long as you breathe in. And then notice as you're breathing out where you're holding tension in your body, and purposely let it go. And that just brings some awareness to your body that you're going to change the dial from fight and flight to parasympathetic. But because my body's in automatic and who knows what my thoughts are telling me, your brain can't distinguish whether you're running from a bear because you have a real bear chasing you or you just think you do. And so your response in your body is the same. And so sometimes we have to stop and pay attention and say, do I need to be in fight and flight? Or can I breathe and do something different?
Can I let go of that? Yeah, that's really good. Now, you mentioned vagal tone, and I'm going to give a little more physiology to that so that I think a lot of people do know. They've heard now what the vagus nerve is. If you haven't, it's a cranial nerve. Comes out the base of the brain, down through the throat, and vagus means wandering. So it wanders through your whole torso, innervating every organ system. So your lungs, your heart, your diaphragm, all your digestive organs. And that vagus nerve really is the main control of that parasympathetic rest and digest system. And there I see a lot of dysfunction in the vagus nerve. And I just think even from a young age, elementary school, over the last maybe even decade, and worse since we've had COVID, where little kids are now anxious. They can be in second grade and they have anxiety and stomach aches every day. It goes hand in hand. That vagus nerve from the brain, you got the anxiety going. It sends little molecules down to the gut and makes the gut hurt and not move very well. And so there are some exercises to get that vagus nerve working better. And they even have little zappers, you can put over the vagus nerve here or in your ear that will actually give the vagus nerve a little bit of toning. You think of you go to the gym to tone your muscles. You're going to be doing a bicep curl to tone your bicep. Well, these exercises tone that vagus nerve. And so as it comes down through the throat, the vibration in the throat will actually strengthen that. So you can, every morning, every night, you brush your teeth, put some water in your mouth, tip your head back, and gargle as hard as you can for 3 minutes. You're going to have to come up for air. You can get new water if you want, but that vibration of the gargling can strengthen that. Humming, singing can do that. And then as it goes through the diaphragm, it's the breathing that you were mentioning. So doing that diaphragmatic breathing where you breathe in slow, hold it for a few seconds, breathe out twice as long. I love that.
Well, and laughter is one of those things that also strengthens the vagal tone. And if we have children in our home that are anxious and are dealing with some anxiety, maybe we could do family joke night or do some things to just stimulate some good laughter, because that also can help stimulate that tone and help us get better at turning the dial.
Life does seem pretty heavy and serious lately, more so than for certainly when I grew up. When I grew up on a farm. We had horses and a couple of cows and chickens, and it was busy. It was busy. We had a big garden. And so as a kid, it was like, hurry and get your chores done, and then you could just play the whole rest of the day. And now kids are, on their electronics and not moving around as much. If you think about the sympathetic nervous system, what it's doing to you as it increases that adrenaline, the best thing you can do is move.
It's so true.
Go for a walk, go for a hike. If you're a jogger, I don't understand you, but go for a jog. And but movement, just not just sitting there, because then you'll just feel more anxious as you've got that adrenaline welling up inside of you. Move.
Yeah, movement is a great way. Walking is some of the best ways that you can move anxiousness out of your body, is that movement. I have seen that time and time again. Do you feel like there's foods out there that are affecting this rush of cortisol through our bodies on a continual basis?
I think it's not so much certain foods. There absolutely are foods, they've got recipes for adrenal tonics, and, maybe there are some in there. The biggest thing is that when your cortisol is off, cortisol is what goes to the liver to break down glycogen stores, and glycogen is the storage form of sugar. So then it breaks those down, releases the sugar, because your brain needs the sugar. Your brain freaks out if it doesn't have any glucose. And so I'll see a lot of blood sugar dysregulation from that, whether cortisol is high or low. You can feel wired and tired if it's high or low. And usually the lower it is, the more fatigue I see.
It's stress, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that the amounts of sugar we also put the body into stress?
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yes. Yeah, sugar is not meant to be eaten every day or multiple times every day. I'll say, do a little dark chocolate or something if you've got a craving. That doesn't sit well with everybody. Not everybody can eat chocolate. And I do think it's nice to have treats. We're used to that, so it's much better to, pick fruit. They do have some nice things that are sweetened with stevia or monk fruit, and where you just don't get the big sugar rush. But sugar absolutely depletes a lot of things in the body, not only minerals. That the adrenal gland, what feeds the adrenal gland is vitamin C, vitamin B5 or pantothenic acid. And then there are some herbs that are tropic for the adrenal gland. Eleutherococcus is one of those. It's a Siberian ginseng. The adrenal glands need potassium and sodium, so you think about those electrolytes. And I think that's where sugar fouls things up.
It kind of depletes some of those things out of the body.
Yeah. So you're trying to restore those adrenal glands, it can take a long time. If people are really burned out and low, I will tell them it's going to take 3 years. 3 years to rebuild that adrenal gland. And that's if you're conscious of how you're living your life. If you're living on purpose, then you're paying attention to how many hours you sleep. And one of the tricks to restore the adrenal glands is to sleep in a completely dark room. No light whatsoever, no light coming from flashy red light, whether it's a smoke alarm on the ceiling or an alarm clock. The darker the room, the deeper and more restorative the sleep is. And that can be one of those tricks to restore the adrenal glands.
Do you have any other methods for relaxation? I mentioned breathing, but I know that you have a great one you recommend as well.
Yeah. I laugh a little bit in clinic these days when I'm talking about stress management, because these days it's much about, can we really do it? Or are you doing stress management? Is that all you think about? You have to do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to manage your stress. Whether, you're a young mother home with some little kids, which is very stressful. They've done some workups and studies on women who are at home taking care of their babies, and it's equal to about 3 full-time jobs. And or just that you're up in the morning and you're trying to get some exercise in, and then you go to work, and where do you get the stress reduction? Where can you really do that? I think it has to be a pretty conscientious effort. And when you're doing more stress management, it's not your CrossFit, your HIIT exercises. It's more the yogas, Pilates, and not that the other ones are bad. They can be really good for people who are strong and they actually feel better after they exercise like that. Great. But if you do a CrossFit class and then you're exhausted, you got to go home and lay down, that is not the exercise for you. You need more tonification of that. And the body gets stressed when it's too hungry. The body gets stressed when you don't have enough sleep. So, I talk to a lot of women who they're mostly home with kids, and they put the kids to bed and then they want to stay up. They don't want to go to bed. They want to stay up. So they're either going to do laundry or dishes or watch a movie and have some me time. The best thing they could do is go to bed. Just go to bed.
But when you're a young mom and you have 100 things on your list, sometimes that's hard to do. Yeah. But really, we're talking to people about being intentional, and we all really know our stress threshold. And that's what we probably are inviting our listeners to do, is to think about what their stress threshold is. And when they peak above that, what can they do to get down below that again? Whether that is going to bed, whether that is saying no to somebody ask you to do something and your plate is full. It's okay. We need to give ourselves permission as women to say no. I can't do that today or ever. Being able to, the power of saying no, the power of listening. Is the exercise you're doing restorative to your body and helps you feel better and lighter after? Or is it just one more thing that's making your life heavier?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's why I kind of laugh at that stress management. Is it too much? And I will tell women with autoimmune disease too, they're probably the main ones, whether it's Hashimoto's or rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, any of those, is that you do not want to take on too much. Be very willing to say no, and don't feel guilty about it. Women, we have a lot on our plates. Regardless of what age you are, it could start from 12 to 100 of you have responsibilities. And then very oftentimes I'll see women not want to do that because they feel guilty if they're taking time out for themselves, because there's so many things to do. And I want to help people be able to live the life they want. That's my goal. That's my why. Is, if you want this kind of life, then we need to support you in this way. So if you are really driven, you're in a good career, you want a promotion, or you've got, 3 kids and you want a 4th, or, whatever it is, supporting the body to be able to withstand the pressures and the stresses you'll have, it's possible. I do a lot of nutrition, I do a lot of herbs, and then these lifestyle changes or just improvements in what can you do to improve the way you're sleeping, eating, and thinking.
We think that stress management is like a whole nother thing I have to do. But really, they can be just little simple things that all of a sudden turn that dial for you. So whether it's breathing, maybe it's going for a quick walk, maybe it's just getting a hug or laughter. Those things that we can do that really just, we're talking about just turning that dial the other way and not keeping it revved up 24/7.
Yes.
And the more the little chances throughout the day that you can turn the dial, then you're going to feel better and you're going to have better vagal tone because your body then will keep adapting back and forth. And I think that's what's going to benefit us the most as women, because we want to live life on purpose. We have missions we want to accomplish. We have our goals that we're trying to achieve, and you can't just do that in Zen all day long.
Right.
So
that's a really good point. I would say the majority of women I see have too many things on their plate, too many things that they're trying to do. And I think the best thing is just cut back where you can cut back and then do these small daily things that don't have to take a really long time. If you learn anything about mindfulness meditation, which is actually a very easy form of meditation, because you're focused on the breath. You just have that focus on the breath, and practicing that enough, you can do that for 10 seconds, 2 minutes, whenever you have a moment that you can practice some mindfulness meditation, and it'll bring you back to a place of calmness and peace where you're not, releasing and having to make a whole bunch more cortisol or adrenaline.
Yeah, I really do like a good mindful meditation practice. And I really like yoga nidra as well. It's a little bit different. It doesn't take your mind somewhere, but it helps you focus on every muscle of your body so that you actually know what relaxation feels like. Sometimes we forget what relaxed feels like.
Yeah. We talk about symptoms of most of these things, these things that affect our daily lives. And so, I've mentioned fatigue is a big one, not sleeping is a big one, but the muscle tension, that's what, when you just said that, it reminded me of that, that how many people have this muscle tension across the upper back, the neck, then they get tension headaches here, just from just being so tense.
What do you think about caffeine? How does that affect our...
Well, there are a lot of different things about caffeine that are genetic. Some people just metabolize caffeine easy. They could, drink something caffeinated right before bed and still fall asleep. And others, if they drink it past 10 o'clock in the morning, they can't fall asleep. So a lot of that does have to do with the genetics of it. But if you over-caffeinate, if you're drinking a pot of coffee, if you're drinking a 44 ounce of Coke and Diet Coke, and once or twice a day, I've seen it all, and I'm not judgmental. I'm like, you're most of these people are in survival mode if they need that much caffeine. You're surviving, but it will do a number on the adrenal glands. It will overwork those adrenal glands because it's very stimulatory. And then it can also hurt your stomach, hurt your digestion. It's quite acidic. People will get pressure, heartburn, things like that. And but it will burn you out faster.
So take note of what, if you are a caffeine drinker, take note of what can give you that edge, but not overstimulate you so that you can turn the dial the other way.
Yeah.
Right?
A little's good. A little caffeine is not bad. Sometimes it really can help people with focus or energy. I would say most days when I'm in the office, I'll drink a cup of green tea after lunch, and it does help my energy and focus to get through my afternoon. And so I like things like that. And you look at most cultures, Other than here in the United States, which we don't have a culture. We've got so many different cultures in it, and we're just one of those newer cultures. If you look about in cultures that they take a siesta, a little nap in the afternoon, or they have tea time. Whether you're looking at black tea, green tea, tea times in the afternoon, it's because you become sluggish. So is a nap really, a big deal? It can be. Do a 20-minute power nap in the afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock when people get that slump. Nothing wrong with that. Or if you're sleeping well at night and don't really feel like you need to make up any sleep, you can do just a little yerba mate, a little chai, not too sweet, not too sweet, or green tea. Black tea, there are some good ones that, just not too much. That's my biggest caveat with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
That's all for today's episode. If you've enjoyed this conversation and have had some aha moments, we want to hear about them. We would like to know what you're going to do in your life to de-stress. So leave those in the comments and make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow us on all of our social media platforms. We love to engage with our audience. And so we're going to sign off and just encourage you to live on purpose and live vibrantly.